Welcome to today's episode with none other than Nathan Cleary. A big shout out to our supporters of the show, Catch Pro Bands. Check them out on Instagram at Catch Pro Bands or www.catchprobands.com.au. They're a great tool to catch the ball early. And as you'll hear in the episode, fundamentals are everything to Nathan Cleary, so it's a very fitting sponsor of the show. The other sponsor I'd love to shout out to is Tripadeal. Check them out at tripadeal.com.au. They are the go-to company for all your travel needs. Welcome team, we're back again. This is a first for me, having a guest back on the show, and it's none other than Nathan Cleary. And mate, thank you so much for this, because your last episode, probably not a shock to the listeners, is the most listened to episode I've ever recorded. You've even beaten your dad. Your dad's episode,
hold that one over him.
Yeah, your dad's episode went really well. Guys like Wayne Bennett, Brad Fittler, there's been some beauties on the show, and yeah, people want to listen to you, mate. We recorded last time before you won premierships, so. And we finished that recording that day. I told you how much I love working every day with you. At the time I worked with you, but at the moment I'm not. And I still watch from a distance, and I see this journey that is so good to watch that I want to still share some stuff. So, yeah, thanks so much again.
Thanks for having me. Pretty good.
You put on a bit of weight since I've seen you last. Muscle? Like, I've put on some weight in the wrong way, but you look like you...
Yeah, just trying to... Probably not too much, but usually during the season it starts to fall off a little bit, so just trying to hold it a bit more.
Can we tell the listeners what we're weighing?
We're weighing 92 at the moment, yeah.
Okay.
91, 92, yeah.
Good, looking strong, mate, looking very fit. Because in saying that, you want to be the fittest on the field. You perform at your best when you are the ultimate fitness level, because you need to think clearly under fatigue, right? So are you still one of the fittest out here?
Yeah, still one of. Dill's pretty hard to beat.
You can't beat Dylan, it's never will.
I've kind of kissed that goodbye, that I'm just not going to beat him, but I can always, strive to be better. And this pre-season's probably one of the better ones I've had in terms of my fitness levels and stuff like that. And obviously was lucky not coming off a surgery or anything, so the body was feeling pretty good. And yeah.
Oh, actually, you just mentioned the surgeries. You've had some up and down times, like rugby league's it's a roller coaster, isn't it?
So, it's a roller coaster.
What I've noticed with the podcast, a lot of my listeners are 25, 30 to 40-year-olds that are all in kind of leadership, coaching, teaching, training type roles, but your episode gets listened to by a lot of younger people as well. That's what the stats tell us, the evidence. So that is a good point to say. Like, it is a roller coaster. Be prepared for it, and how they can learn from listening to your journey, how it may help. So, yeah, I hope we could maybe touch on a bit of the good times and bad times.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. In saying that, like, can we just go straight to a couple of these Iceman moments lately? Like, because we said you perform better when you're at your fitness levels or at an ultimate level, but your mental game. Can we just talk about that Parramatta game recently where there's a penalty on about halfway? Can you take me through your thought process here? Like, I'm sitting at home watching on the lounge and my kids are studying here as well, just going, what's he going to do here? Talk me through it, mate.
Yeah, it's been, I think particularly something like field goals is something that over the last couple of years I've really tried to practice more and more. I think it's such a prevalent thing in the game now. And then the 2-point field goal came in, and I remember, this was going years back, it was like 2018, we lost to Cronulla in a semi-final, and I had a field goal attempt, and it was a shocker. And I just probably didn't practice it enough at that time, because I'd just become the sort of first choice field goal kicker. Always practiced general play kicking a lot, always practiced goal kicking a lot, but not so much field goals. And after that moment, I just had to put more time into it, and as you know, preparation and practice, gives you confidence once you get in the game. And that Parramatta game, it got to the end, and I remember getting the penalty, and I just felt like really calm. I wasn't nervous at all, and I think that came from preparation. And I actually had a shot against the Broncos in round 1. It was a like 2-point field goal, and I didn't hit it very well. So looked at that and sort of assessed why I didn't. I sort of knew straight away it was just it was a bit rushed and trying to kick it too hard, and practiced a bit more a few weeks after that, and I was happy to get another shot in that Parramatta game, and just sort of went through the process, and lucky enough it went over, but unfortunately lost the game. But it was a cool moment just seeing the practice sort of and the preparation go into a big moment.
Well, that's interesting. That could be a world first. I don't think anyone realised world first. So many listeners, brother, millions. But I don't think because I didn't think about the one you missed a few weeks earlier, and you saw that as an opportunity to learn from why you missed it, and then you came back and practiced it, and that's why you're calm, right? I mean, you've got influences in your life, which is why you are calm. It's in you, and we spoke about that in the last episode. We talked about your dad's influence in that area, being calm and competing and stuff, and we talked about a lot in that last episode. So that's in you, the calm part, but also you've just emphasised that you're calm because you've done the work.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I honestly wouldn't be calm if I hadn't done the work, or I wouldn't be confident with myself if I hadn't done the work. That's something I pride myself on, is, you know, preparation's the biggest part of how you perform on the field. And if you don't get your preparation right, I reckon it severely hinders my confidence, at least, once I get out there, and I'm definitely second guessing myself. So I think something like kicking, like, it's actually something that's very easy to practice. There's different scenarios in games with ball playing opportunities that are a bit harder, but kicking, like, it's something that's very easy to do. It's something I've always enjoyed doing, I've always loved doing, so it doesn't feel like a chore to me. And it's funny, like, you do it at training, and then once you get in the game, it doesn't, I don't know, when you get in those moments, it doesn't really feel like there's heaps of people in the stands, or there's a lot of pressure on it. It just sort of feels like it's a moment you want to have, because that's what you train for, you know.
You just mentioned the word love. Like, it's a pretty powerful word. You love preparation. I do notice that with young kids. Like, if you ever see a kid that's a good goal kicker, you know that they've loved footy so much they've spent hours at the park on their own, away from everyone else. But you just mentioned love of preparation, and your dad acknowledged that too in the episode we filmed with your dad. Like, and I've seen it in you personally, this love of the game, this love of preparation. But I like the way you've articulated it to any kids out there about your calmness only comes from the work. So I really appreciate you telling that story. Then recently, mate, you won another game in Golden Point, 39-metre field goal. But even to get there, you had to kick a field goal to draw the game.
Missed two as well.
You missed two as well. Okay, why don't we go there? When you miss something or you make an error, what's the thought process?
Yeah, well, I was actually, I'm kind of glad it happened. I'm glad that we ended up winning as well. But I was sort of keen to see how I'd feel after missing one, especially one that was, like, relatively easy. Because I know in the past I would have missed it, and then I would have been thinking, I don't know if I want to take another one, or I'll throw it to critter, or, you know, something like that. I think my mind tends to fall into the negative, like, it's just sort of human nature. I think that you just negatively, after you do something bad, it's just like negative thoughts come in. But after I missed, it was like, all right, well, I just want to have another opportunity to kick it again, and ended up having like 4 attempts that game. So it was like just so different to you know any other game. But it was pretty cool. Like, I don't think my confidence ever wavered, and then got the opportunity in Golden Point after a great set from the boys. Like, that goes overlooked as well. Just some of the carries in that set were unbelievable. And remember, Spencer off the kick off. Deal with his last carry was really good. And I remember the ball was in the air, and I caught it, and I had Romy in my ear, like, he was next to me. Yeah. And he's the only person I could hear. Like, couldn't hear any of the fans. I could just hear him. Yeah. He was going, yep. Like, he like, he just did. And when I heard that, I don't know, it just gave me this weird, like, confidence. That it was just going to go over. Like, he knew that I could do it. So,
what a great teammate. I mean, there's a message there about how to be a good teammate, and sometimes it's through a little bit of communication, as simple as encouragement.
Yeah.
You know, that's
awesome.
awesome.
It was like he was laughing doing it. Like
That's
just,
him.
Yeah, it just makes you more relaxed. You know?
Yeah. Well, you need to be relaxed to hit. That's so sweet.
Yeah.
Well, as you know, I still know people in the club. Now I know Nathan. Sorry, I know Romy was giving you a little bit of cheek the day before when you're practicing your field goals for not letting him have one. So, in his way, he jokes around, and we used to call him the CEO, the Chief Energy Officer, and he's developed in so many ways as well. But what a great teammate he is for you.
Oh, he is a great teammate, and I've always enjoyed early days coming up against Romy because he was the big name and the great player. But more recently, being able to play alongside him and share great moments with him, share low moments with him as well, which brings us closer. He epitomises a great teammate, and I think he definitely gives the rest of the group confidence.
Hey, you just mentioned you've been highs and lows with Romy. Can I take you back to another game where this goes straight into a bit of a leadership lesson? And lately I have spoken to a couple of businesses, and one of the businesses turning over like $500 million. We're talking a big company, and they're all sitting in the room, the management of the room, and they were blown away when I put some vision of you. Now the vision was, because we just talked about Jerome Luai, so I might as well go there. The topic was around how people find it uncomfortable to hold teammates to account. Now, you have such a high level of trust out here in your team that it's now the thing to do is it's okay to do, but I'm pretty sure you'll acknowledge it's not always that easy to do, and you've had to learn how to do it. So anyway, the vision I show and the story I try to tell businesses is this culture piece. It's an all the time thing. Even when things are going good, you have an opportunity to still drive the standards you want. So the story I tell, you were winning 42-0 against the Newcastle Knights, 42-0. So in business terms, if you're a company, you're humming. You're going really good at 42-0.
Yeah,
you're going pretty good. Yeah. But you saw something that you value so much, and that's in the little things, or we call them the not little things. Do you still call them the NLTs? Yeah, we call them NLTs because they're not little. There's something that happened 100 metres up the field where it wasn't quite at the standards you want to drive. The vision goes, Newcastle Knights end up scoring, you chase back about 40 metres, you couldn't catch Edric Lee, and then if you capture it, Jerome comes back and you sprayed him. The story I tell, I don't know the exact words you said, but I just said, it's as simple as saying, hey, that's not our standards. We value that. And I saw that, you took it as an opportunity to still drive what you value. Even though things were going good, you didn't want to let an opportunity slip to strengthen your culture, strengthen yourself as a leader, and raise your teammates' game. Could you talk me through your version of that? I'm only saying what I observed.
Yeah. No, I think you touched on it's definitely true that it's not an easy thing to do, and I'm not a natural, sprayer. I don't really like doing it, but to be honest, I don't do it that often. There's probably certain people that I know I can do it to because they will react well to it, and there's other people that I know not to do it. So I think it's building that trust as well, and I think me and Romy have played for a long time together, so I've built that trust with him, and he knows that. We both know that we just want to get the best out of each other, and I know he responds pretty well when he needs a kick up the bum sometimes, and and I think spraying people for different things as well. Like I really would never spray someone for dropping the ball or something like that because it's just going to happen. But if there's an opportunity that we all value as a group, particularly in the little things or just effort areas, then. I just saw it happen and just got him behind the line and was sort of yelling at him, and he knew straight away that he should have done it, and he was trying to ignore me, and then he just looked at me and I gave him a spray, and we have a good laugh about it now. But
well, the story I tell when I'm talking about this as a topic, so obviously everyone knows holding teammates accountable, great teams do that, great businesses do that. everyone also knows it's a hard thing to do. So how do you develop that? And you just said it. You don't do it over every other thing, but you do it over your values.
Yeah.
So what I found, and I've noticed in your development, but leaders are constantly developing this, is as long as you align whatever we call it a spray, but you're not spraying. As long as whatever the conversation you're having with someone is, it's aligned with the value, it's not a tough conversation because it's not personal.
Yeah.
So when I use that vision, I'm telling people these two were best mates 10 seconds after.
Yeah.
This.
Well, it's a trust thing as well.
Yeah.
You know, you got to build those relationships to be able to do it.
There you go.
You got to be able to trust each other and know it's coming from the right place, not just doing it for the sake of it. And
Yeah.
I've never been someone that will. As I said, I'm not a natural sprayer, and I don't like doing it. But there's just I've built those relationships where I know some people who react well to it and other people won't.
So when did you realise on your journey as a leader that this was an important thing you had to personally develop? Because you were made a leader at what, like a young age?
Yeah. I think leadership's always been within me, but I'm a pretty reserved, sort of shy, quiet guy. And I've always found it hard to keep people accountable or like pull them up for things. And, you know, it's still a constant battle now. Like I'm definitely not saying I have it sorted out. I still battle with that, and it's still been a constant journey trying to find my voice. But, you know, I think that's developed over time as I've got more confidence and been on this journey. And, you know, I'm very lucky to have someone like Yowie next to me, sort of on that captain journey as well. Like we're both sort of learning as we go, and, you know, he's just an absolute legend of a bloke and a great leader, and I look up to him. But yeah, I think you have to do it. Like if there's things that you value, you got to keep people accountable when they're falling out of line, and that's one of the qualities of a leader. And as much as it's hard to do, I find it the easiest for me to do it is in the heat of the battle, because, you know, that's when I probably care the most, is if it's going to help us win a game further down the track or something like that. So, as you said, you know, it's always aligned with the values. And but to be fair, I've been very lucky with our group here. Like there's not many people that are doing the wrong thing. Everyone's in the same direction. Everyone wants the same thing, and everyone's abiding by the values. So I'm very lucky.
But can I just interrupt and say, I don't believe in luck. Might be crazy. People are thinking, you know, I'd probably get people slamming me here, but I believe extra effort brings luck. This club, this head coach, this staff here, they've made an effort to develop you guys as leaders, and you guys made an effort to learn and develop as leaders. So you are very lucky to have such good people around you. But in saying that, it's a work-on thing. Like your dad knew, I could tell you now, I sat in a room with your father and a couple of other staff talking about who will be the next captain before you were captain. And all of these things, and you and Yowie were talked about, and what areas you needed to work on and develop. And it's been a journey together. It's what's so cool here. And like, mate, I remember there was a staff member who just went straight away, Fisher Harris is a leader. Like there was a guy from your rehab staff at the time, told this Fisher Harris story. And you look back all these years later, Fisher Harris, like you talk about holding people to account. Yeah. Like I've sat and chat with him before, and we talked about how do we guard against complacency, you know, because you're very good. How do you guard against complacency? And he just straight up said, I'll lead it with my own actions to start with, but I'll hold people to account if they're not to standard, you know.
There's one person you never want to let down.
You don't want to let him down. And I tell a great story. Apparently, remember Harry? He was sitting in the cubicle in your change room once, and he overheard Fisher Harris say, "Oi, we don't do that here." That's all he said. "Oi, we don't do that here," right? So Harry comes back and tells me, "Hayden, you wouldn't believe what I just heard Fisher Harris do," because he loved it, right? Yeah. Old Harry. Yeah. And all it was, there was a new player who'd come to the club who threw his strapping tape, and it was next to the bin, not in the bin. And Fish said, "Oi, we don't do that here." So if I'm trying to teach young leaders out there, that wasn't personal between Fish and that player. It was just one of your values is to respect this place and respect your locker room and respect each other. And it was aligned with, hey, throwing that there is not respect, you know? So,
well,
yeah.
That's another thing, you know, that's like, it's keeping someone accountable, but it's not putting them down in doing it, you know what I mean? He's not saying, oh, listen here, dickhead, this is not what we do here.
That's right.
Like, why would you do that? It's just sort of...
Yeah, this is our standard.
Yeah,
it's not personal.
Yeah, that's
it's
such
like,
a fish way of doing it.
It is, mate. And I thought, by observing you and Romy, I thought, again, that's not personal because I know you two are best mates. It was only aligned with he didn't win that little loose ball that you value, you know. So, yeah, mate, you guys are on a great leadership journey together. Like, it's so powerful. And you said it's lucky. I don't think it's lucky. You work on it. You work on everything. True?
Yeah.
You work on everything. Like in the last episode, we talked about all the different things. You are constantly getting better.
Yeah.
What are you going to get better at now? Like, you are constantly getting better. You lost the game last night.
Yeah.
Last night. So less than 24 hours, we're sitting here, you're bruised up, bashed up, and thank you for your time, by the way, to do that. Some people, after a loss, are kicking stones right now. Yeah. And I wondered, how's he going to be coming in to record today? And you've turned up, and I can just see it in you. How do you approach a loss?
Well, I was that guy not long ago that was kicking stones and, you know, feeling sorry for himself and stuff like that. And I think it's human nature, particularly when things don't go right. But, you know, I think my mindset's completely flipped to how can I get better out of something that's gone wrong. I actually read a quote the other day. It was... sometimes you need distraction for construction, and yeah, it's just like, it's just so true. Sometimes things need to not go well, and then, you know, it gives you an opportunity to get better and see where you went wrong and improve from that. And now, yeah, I see that out of every loss that we have, it's a lesson and it's an opportunity to improve and, you know, talk about sort of where I can get better. It's the journey. It's overall, like, you're never going to be perfect. Rugby league isn't a perfect game, but you can always strive to be. So there's always something to get better at or something to improve at. And yeah, I think I'll always have that mindset. And it's what makes it exciting, you know. You've never got it fully worked out. Just take the game last night, for example. We haven't lost a game like that in ages, and it bloody hurts for sure. But, you know, it gives you opportunities to not let that happen again or learn from that for further down the track in the big games. And yeah, it's a crazy game, rugby league. We were talking about the roller coaster just before, and it always is. So, you know, you can't ride those highs or the highs or lows too much. You got to sort of try to get back to that equilibrium as quick as you can.
Neutral.
Back to neutral, and I think that's where you do your best work. And you know, you got to embrace those feelings when you're having the highs and lows, I reckon, because it's very hard to block out. It's just human nature, but you just can't dwell on it for too long. And yeah, the quicker you can get back to that neutral and working again, and the better you'll be.
Well, I think you've delivered some gold there to some listeners around. You use the terminology, it's an opportunity to learn. And you also acknowledge you were that person that kicked stones.
Yeah.
And it's kind of natural.
Yeah.
If I could share even my own lessons. So I worked with a club where we lost the grand final once, and I still to this day haven't watched the game. Years later, another grand final, lost. Never watched it. Couldn't bring myself to watching it. Worked with you, we lost one. And we were in a bit of a journey together there. I know me and you used to, but even Fish, we used to share a lot of Kobe Bryant stuff together. Mm. And Kobe Bryant, there's this video where he talks about losing is actually exciting because it's an opportunity to learn from it, exactly the way you just articulated it. And then he did this other one where he said, you just got to get over yourself. It's not about you.
That's it.
And I listened to that and I was like, hang on, it's definitely not about me. I didn't play that game. I was just a staff member. So why was I it's my job to learn. I owe it to the players I work for to learn. But I was caught up in that kicking stones emotional side. I never want to see it, but it's your job to look deeply at lessons from winning and losing. So that loss to Melbourne Storm, and then we won it the following year, made it even sweeter, the lessons learned, didn't it? The pain, it's very hard to explain the pain. But looking deeply into it and looking at it from every angle and just invest time in learning.
Yeah.
So yeah, for me, I don't know if you knew the depth that I went to after that loss to actually, hey, get over yourself. You owe it to these boys to learn and dig deep, and maybe it might be the mindset of how we prepare the next year, or the physicality, or whatever we decided as a staff. I had numerous chats with your dad. I remember walking up a hill in the national park talking to Fisher Harris, and we were nearly crying together, mate, because it was that painful, but we were trying to learn, you know. So if we can jointly there deliver a message to listeners about no matter how good you're going, you still can find opportunities to learn from winning. You do a lot of that. But the way you've put it, we're here less than 24 hours after a pretty painful loss. And you're already saying, how good is it? We can learn from this. So.
Well, that's the next thing. It's like, you know, sort of adopted the mindset as well that, you know, you can't change what's happened, but you can sort of affect what's going to happen in the future, and you can learn from those moments. So it's no good for you sort of living in the past or dwelling on things, because you're stuck there. You got to, you know, stay in the present moment and use that to try and get better. Use your experiences to get better. And I'm always a big believer that, you know, you come out of those lows and the highs feel so much better. So it's just accepting that there's going to be those moments, but just not, you know, you can't change them once they've happened. So you just got to keep moving forward.
Let's go to the highs. We last time we recorded, you hadn't won a premiership yet.
Yeah. I remember I said that was my dream in that last.
You did. You said that's your dream.
Yeah.
And I'm having goosebumps here, brother. Do you get goosebumps? Then I've got goosebumps. Me and you, we had some good origin moments where we used to say, we're going to have a photo with that shield, and then I kept saying, because I'd already agreed I was leaving, remember? Yeah. So there's one shot here. We'd lost the previous shield, one shot. Me and you were getting that photo, brother. And, mate, that's a photo that I'll cherish till the day I die. But the joy, talk to me of the joy after the game. I've got a picture where you're rubbing my bald head, my shiny head. You know,
I like that photo.
You know, I didn't even play the game. And you know what made it so special for me was my family were there and experienced it. We're living together in the bubble, and it's a highlight of my life. But mate, yours, tell me what that was like for you.
Yeah, honestly, it's crazy. I remember straight after the game, I reckon the first feeling I had was relief, just because after what happened the year before, we just didn't play well and lost that grand final, and then coming to this one, we were just hanging on. We had a few guys battered and bruised, and they were coming hard as they do, you know, Souths always do. But just to be able to win, it was just instant relief, and then it was just pure joy. I just can't even describe it. It was such a good feeling.
So hard to describe, isn't it?
Such a good feeling, just embracing all the boys. Yo was crying. There was just happy tears everywhere. And then, you're right, having family there was amazing. I remember just that embrace with Dad, the first one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll definitely remember that for the rest of my life. And then going over and seeing Mum and my brothers and sisters was a pretty special moment. And definitely a different feeling to the year before.
Yeah, well, you went to see Mum and Dad near the dugout there, and Bizza proposed.
Yeah.
Hey, you just mentioned how we had blokes busted.
Yeah.
Let's share the story when, people don't realise Dylan Edwards, I love Dylan, if you're watching, I want you on the show.
You get him on the podcast.
Mate, he's possibly mentally the toughest guy I know, and he had a broken foot, so he's on crutches, in a boot, hobbling around the Sunshine Coast resort we were staying at. We had to do a fitness test. Were you hiding in the bushes? Because I'm going to tell what my version was. So Dylan Edwards gone. Shouldn't be playing. Medical staff are there. They are so nervous. We're even going to put pressure on this foot today, so take the boot off. And I could see their nerves, and I'm really big on not letting that show to the players. So I just grabbed Dill, mate, go do this, this and this. And the medical staff are like, oh, should we be doing this? Or we might need to load more on it. And then, because to really test it, you might have needed to load more volume into him. But if that broke down, he's definitely not playing. So I did bare minimal. They're still having their meeting. Dill, come here. You're the toughest guy I know. Are you playing or not? He goes, yeah. I said, go. Medical team, he's playing. Ivan, he's playing. And Ivan was like, yep, beautiful, done. Medical team were like, what? And Dylan, get out of here, because I didn't want him to feel... We were that nervous about him, mate. Like, he shouldn't have played. I don't know if I should say that if I get sued one day when he's limping around as an old man. But
it was worth it.
Yeah, that was worth it. He walked off and you appeared out of the bushes and you just come over and went, are you playing? Yeah, and you hugged him, and I remember it was such a good moment. Went and put him back in a boot. Even on game day, he's on crutches the morning of the game to keep pressure off it. In the warm-up, he was limping. I looked at your dad and I was like... So not only was he limping, Moses Leota had the calf, someone else had the knee, Fish had the knee, Uppy had something. Like, you had a shoulder, you needed shoulder surgery. Like, it was... We looked at each other, me and your dad, we even had a chuckle in the warm-up. I went, mate, we might not have a team by half-time. By half-time, I said...
Generally could have been like
we won't have a team. Yeah. And Dylan plays the whole game. Mate, he is...
He's a freak.
Oh, he's a freak. So many good stories. And that probably made the enjoyment even more because how challenging it was.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, well, that fitness test, I got wind of it, that he was doing it.
Yeah.
And I was like, I wandered down, because we were all staying at the same place.
Yeah.
I wandered down to have a look. I wasn't in the bushes like a creep, but I was sort of just poking my head around and saw him going around. I just saw this big gathering of all the medical staff, all you guys, and I'd wandered over to the side, and Dill sort of walked out of that big huddle. And he just looked at me and he was like, nodded his head. Yeah. And I was just jumping up and down, giving him a big hug. But for him to do that was, it's quite unbelievable. And the way he played, like, it wasn't like he was a passenger out there. And you talk about when we were in the sheds, I remember he took the boot off and he was walking around and he was like limping heavy. I was singing.
Before the game.
I just looked at him and I didn't want to like say anything, but I was like, how's this bloke going to play? And he went out there and absolutely killed it. But you kind of talk on his mental toughness as well. Like, after that 2019 year, that was such a tough year for him.
Yes.
It's probably form that he'd never felt before. It's like similar to a lot of us. Like, it's just it's an ordinary year, but he got dropped. People were, saying Penrith should get rid of him. Rah rah rah. Then 2 years later, like, it's unbelievable.
Well, you're the best
that's
defensive
mental
team
toughness there
in the competition. And in his position, he is the rock of that defence.
I think that's something that is very underrated for us, is what he does for our defence.
Yeah.
It's he literally is the rock, and he's the conductor as well. He's got us all moving in the right places. And
Well, you just mentioned, we did talk about it in the last episode, we went pretty heavy on performance anxiety and FOPO. We talked about that, fear of people's opinions. That was in the last episode, so if you want to listen to more of that, go back. But yeah, Dylan, he was suffering with that a lot that year. Yeah. And like that one particular game, and I remember against the Melbourne Storm, and they and he got dropped and he had a lot to deal with, and then he's come back, and then mate, even the way he come back, even the grand final loss, like Melbourne Storm tried to take him out of the game, really. But that was part of his journey. That was his lessons and learning, and then the following year, like, he's led the team with the best defensive record in the last couple of decades, I think, and to then win it. And then you went back to back. I haven't even gone back to back because I wasn't there by then. Yeah. But to go back to back, winning it's one thing, but then backing it up. Is there any lessons you learned that year that we haven't spoken about that you can even teach me as well as the listeners?
I think the thing after you win one is it's like, is the hunger still going to be there? But literally as soon as we rocked up for day one of pre-season, you just knew. Like, it was just that feel around. We'd lost Birdo. Mommers was in that grand final side. He left. Capes had left. So I'd lost a few good players. But I think that's been the thing over the last couple of years. When people leave, it gives these new young guys or guys come from different clubs opportunities. And it's like, well, I don't want to let this guy down. I want him to feel what we felt last year. And it's the same this year. It's like, yes. I want these guys, people like Zach Hoskin and Garner and Peach, who's come back, to feel what we've felt the last 2 years. So it's sort of like you owe it to them that you want them to feel a part of it as well. So it gives a good opportunity through that, I reckon. And that last year was a pretty crazy year. The final series was completely different to the final series the year before. The year before, as we touched on, we were pretty battered and bruised, and literally every game went down to the last play. It was literally a war, and it was like playing 4 grand finals in a row.
Yeah.
This year, we were just once we got to that final series, we knew what we needed to do, and we were really coming into playing our best footy then. Timed it perfectly. Everyone was fit, and it was pretty cool. And we got to grand final day, and I don't know, it was just everyone just had this eerie confidence about them. It wasn't arrogance, but everyone knew what we had, in front of us, the opportunity, but also, that we knew what we needed to do to win. And it was a good day.
Well, you probably just emphasised, when you have such a powerful belief, it's come from experiences that have led to that, or work that has led to that. Mm. You also mentioned, just in conversation, you mentioned the 3 things that I value a lot, and I've spoken once or twice on the podcast, is the checklist. I like to go through the 3 things. I don't know if you remember it. Number 1, do you know what to do? You just mentioned you guys knew what to do. That's number 1. Number 2, do you have the resources to do it? You just mentioned you're all fit, healthy, at your best, you were humming. So you had the resources. The resources was you guys. And number 3, do you really want to do it? And the evidence is there. The evidence and the hunger, it's there. You see it I saw it in you. I went to that game and sat by myself and just was a real footy nerd and studied. I watched you very closely. And I saw hunger in certain things. I saw you stand up to, they tried to bash you on the first kick pressure, and you stood up to that and went, that's not even going to faze me, Your mental game was at another level. I watched you communicate. So I was sitting from behind, and I even watched you leading up into that first try. It's like you were happy to just go, let's go. Let's just go set for set. And then you spotted a bit of, you obviously could see stuff. And I saw you say something to Yowie, who passed the message on to Dill, who then told Fish to get to a certain point, and then you had this line up over here, and then the first try came. But as a real footy nerd, I was watching what I value as the communication. Your team seems to be so good at communicating now, where if you went back a few years, not so. Yeah. Can you? Because that's a real lesson in the leadership world or the coaching world. The importance of communication. Can we go there?
Yeah, well, that was something, go back to that 2019 year, it was something that we really identified that we needed to get better at.
I remember. That's number 1 priority.
Yeah. Without communication, you can't have connection. And, connection and teamwork was something that's the top of our pedestal, is you always put the team first and you always need to be connected. And you can't do that without communication. So it was a massive part of what we needed to get better at. And, I think communication is often, some people might see it as like being the loudest in the room or yelling all the time or stuff like that, but it's simple as just talking to the person next to you, being in sync with him, then he's talking to the person next to him. Then all of a sudden you've got everyone in the whole defensive line talking, or everyone in the attacking line talking. And, it was something that we emphasised the need to get better at, and we put time and work into it, and, that's what you have to do. It comes back to preparation, and again, that's been a journey. It doesn't happen straight away. But yeah, it's definitely, looking back like 3 years ago, 4 years ago to where we are now, it's a big part of what we do. And when we don't play well, it usually funnels back down to the lack of communication.
Doesn't it?
Yeah, so it's...
Wait, there's the message.
Yeah, it's funny though, it's like it's such a simple thing to do, to talk to the person next to you, but when you're tired or, when things aren't going well, it's easily overlooked. But, yeah.
Well, for the business leaders and that aren't quite, well, the sporting people, I know that stuff you did there, any young athlete or particular footy player, that is the gold they need to take from this whole episode. But for the business leader, you mentioned something there was, they all know, they've all read the same leadership books, they've all read, like they're at levels of their leadership where they know connection is important, but you just said you work on it and you invest time in it.
Yeah.
And because everyone knows the most connected team wins. I say it all the time. The most connected team defends the best defensive team wins. I've said it on numerous episodes. All these business leaders know the best businesses in the world are the most connected teams. But you've just said the absolute gold is you have to invest time in it.
Yeah.
You have to work on it.
Yeah, and for us, obviously, it's different to the business world because you have the on-field where it's on show to everyone, but it's off the field that's just as important. Like it's at training or it's sitting down and having lunch with the boys and just talking and communicating. I think that's how you build relationships and that trust where, you know, you can keep them accountable or you can trust that they're going to have your back on the field and stuff like that. And, you know, I think that's been something pretty cool that we've done and something we definitely value. And just learning everyone's stories as well. Still get people up at the front of the room to tell their story. And
nice.
It's cool. You feel a definite connection.
You pointed at me then, still get people up at the front of the room, because that's what I used to do. But which is great. You still remember that. But I probably should tell a story about your father here. Like so my job when I worked here was to assist your dad. Sure, I was the person at the front of the room that generated all that, where we shared each other's stories, but it's because he valued it. So that's the thing. If the leader values it, if it comes from the boss and the boss values connection. I'll tell you a story. You know how he used to make me do that every day? Every day we did that. Yeah. I took your dad a schedule once, of like 2 months in advance. Training, skills, video, recovery, weight, like everything, you know, your routine. Everything's laid out. There was this one day where that meeting wasn't in there. And he said to me, well, hang on, where's that connection, mate? Where's that thing you do? 7:45, where's that? And I left the room. I was so pumped because I was like, a lot of people would have gone straight to the other X's and O's of the schedule. And he valued the most was that time because he wanted to invest time in making you guys connected. So, yeah, I had someone in England send me a story that was written in an article, wanted to chat to me about the process at Penrith where you all got to share each other's stories and became a tighter-knit team. They worked for a soccer club and they approached me and I was like, what are you approaching me for? And they said, oh, we read it in a story. One of the boys must have said, Hayden's done this and this. And I said, my reply was, I have to tell you now, you know that that's important. It has to come from your boss. Yeah. If the head coach believes in it or the CEO believes in it, that's when it's... Or the player, the leadership players value it. Because like I said, it's in 1,000 books. So, but it's investing time and caring about it. Let's go to a couple more topics. I want to talk about fundamentals because it doesn't matter what game, what industry, what fundamentals are the key. Some people in rugby league game can gloss over it and still maybe make it, but the greats, the absolute greats, are in love with the fundamentals. I want to go there with you, and then I want to talk about what else you're up to in your life. I've seen you practice fundamentals more than I've seen anyone practice, but give me your take on the value of fundamentals.
Yeah, well, I think fundamentals is, it's what you do the most in the game. That's what comes out the most. It's a high percentage of every play comes down to fundamentals. You know, your catch, your pass, defence. It's your technique around kicking, just fundamental stuff. That's sort of easy to practice as well, but it is such a big part of the game. And I think through my experiences, the bigger games, that's when the fundamentals come out. And under pressure, if your fundamentals are good and sound, then you have more confidence to pull them off on the bigger stage. And that's definitely something we've valued as a team. And we've spoken before about how good things can come out of low moments and learning. And you look back on that 2019 year and then lose in the grand final in 2020. It's like, would we be here now with back-to-back comps, if those 2 years didn't happen and we had those lows, like would we have learned as much? Or and I think the fundamentals and the communication and all these values really grew out of those low moments. And then fundamentals has just been something that we've constantly worked on. Like even grand final week, we had a fan day where everyone rocks up for the grand final week, and we were doing 2v1s and 3v2s. Like, this is stuff you do from under sixes. People were in the stands were saying, what are they doing? Like, why aren't they practicing set plays or doing big backline plays and all that stuff? But that's just what we do, and we value it, and it's personally, I find it very important. I think you base your whole game off fundamentals, and as I said, under pressure, they come out on the big day. So, Well,
that's a great message, because my line, I would always say fall in love with fundamentals. I was saying that now to some kids. I'm coaching my son's team and my daughter's team, and they're in shock when I'm doing your fundamental drills. But now I'm just going to hit play and go, hey, go to my podcast. Kids, if you didn't know, go to Nathan. Let's hear Nathan say it, because you live it, you breathe it. There's a try you guys scored in the grand final, which I've actually shown some young players. Early catch, perfect, fundamentals. Goes to Romy, early catch, perfect, fundamentals, perfect. Early catch, Tago, catch pass, Bizza, try. If any of those catches weren't perfect, and you've just said it, grand final week, you're out here doing basic fundamentals. If any of those catches aren't perfect, Tago gets tackled, Bizza doesn't score. Yeah. So, but hearing you say that, I'm going to cut it and play it to every kid from now on.
Well, it's the base. It's the base of everything that comes with the game, and there's always going to be things that you can add onto it and get better at, and that's sort of the icing on top. But if you put your time and effort and into that base and really value it, then you're going to be able to do those things under pressure and score tries like that. And there's two in that grand final where Tago had unbelievable hands, and he'd probably say himself he's not a natural catch pass sort of guy, but he puts so much work into it and practices it so often that under pressure, biggest stage, he nailed it. And that's the difference.
Well, sometimes doesn't matter what position they are, is to throw dummy half passes, and you get these middles. I don't do this in a game. This kid's, So I just hit play. Birdo's first try against South in the grand final, it was Isaiah Yo's dummy half pass. Yeah. And then you're talking about Isaac Tago's nice catch pass, but if your one wasn't perfect, then it leads to Romy's one's not perfect. And then so everyone's got a responsibility. You just used a great word about the base. So I always kind of draw a pyramid. If the base is only there, the peak goes to there. But if the base is here, the peak goes up here. So you just described it in a great way. Like it is the base, and then the icing's on the top. And I've noticed your game still, there's all new things start. I've been observing, there's a few new things. Dylan's developed a few little certain things. We won't give too much away. But I've been watching. Righto, let's go to what's going on in your life. Let's finish it up, because you're on a journey, life, footy, the whole thing. It's all one. You're the one. It's such a good story where it's going. But I notice you're getting into a bit of business stuff. You've got other interests. The importance of other interests. I always see you post pictures with your dogs. You still love that quiet time with your dogs. Yeah. And I see you got a beer company and. What's going on in it? You've probably got a property portfolio going crazy, but I tell you what I do love, by the way, I've never seen it change you, so I want to respect that. You're now the highest paid player in the game, and it hasn't changed you one bit, but tell us what you're doing.
Just last year came on board with Drink West. That's been an awesome journey with Tyson Pedro and Ty Tuivasa. It's all been new to me. I was always keen to get into the business world, but had no idea where to start or anything like that. And the boys gave me a call and wanted to get me on board, and just being able to hear their sort of business minds around it has been really cool. Like they're they're very smart with marketing and all that sort of stuff, and just sitting in on meetings and how it all works. When I first got in there, I was like, I was talking in French, but it's been cool to sort of learn, and
awesome.
it's just part of a journey that you want to be on. And you know, I do have other interests outside of footy. Like I honestly think footy is my purpose at this stage in life. But you know, I don't see myself as Nathan, just the footy player.
Awesome,
you know, that's a part of me, but
yeah.
And I'll always put the majority of my work into footy, and I won't let my other interests affect the work I do for footy, because that's my purpose at the moment. But
yeah.
you know, it's good to have those other things, and yeah, it's been a cool journey. Love my dog. Mum and Dad have got two, so I like hanging out with them, and obviously love family time, hanging with friends. Love my golf as well, but yeah, it's been cool. The Drink West journey's been good.
That's what we should have done. We should have had a game of golf.
Bit sore.
Yeah. That's great, mate. You talk about, you even just mentioned there that you love learning in those meetings. Like you're always constantly getting better. Did I see you sing a song? But you said they're good at marketing.
I got roped into that.
How
so
they
bad.
roped you into that?
Honestly.
They aren't good at marketing. They are geniuses.
Yeah.
Tyson, you're geniuses.
Too smart.
If you got
too
him
smart.
to sing,
never again. It was one of the most embarrassing things ever, but it was a good laugh, and I think it did pretty well. So
did it?
That was like our big sort of
Launch.
Yeah, launch of it, and it was.
Mate,
as much sticker as I copped, it was kind of worth it, but I will never be doing that again.
Good on you. Well, I want to thank you personally for inspiring a lot of kids. Thank you for having me on part of the journey. We'll still catch up again for Origin this year.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing your lessons here, mate. We had a couple of questions on the Instagram, if you don't mind me just finishing with a couple of fan questions. No, they don't mind fans, that's the wrong way. Couple of learners from the podcast.
Yeah.
Let's see what they've tossed up. I meant to wear glasses to read it, mate. Here we go. We've got one question. On connection and players fitting culture, how have you found Zach Hoskins been so far? How's Zach been? Yeah, new background.
He's been really good. He's just fitted in perfectly, and you know, he wasn't in our round one team, but he just he has that tenacity about him that he was just going to work hard, and he got his opportunity. He's been going really well, and he's all the new boys are fitting really well to what we want to do, what it means to be a Panther, sort of our values, and Hosko's a good one. He's a great player, great bloke.
I've noticed that. I've never met him, but well done on you guys too. That's you guys as leaders. You know it's a job to get him to fit in, and you've done well. Yeah, he's been really impressive. Right, let's have a look at this. Excuse the eyes, mate. You might have to edit this. What are the things you do every day to stay mentally and emotionally resilient and be happy?
It's a good question.
Yeah, what do you do every day to be happy?
I think that's a constant battle. I think I've been on this journey, and I'm always chasing happiness and all this stuff, but I've come to the realisation that I just don't think you can be happy 100% of the time. There's going to be times where you have sort of down moments, and it's just human nature. You go through your emotions, and some things go wrong, some things go good, and it's what we were talking about before, trying to get back to neutral and be happy. And it's a constant chase of that. But you know, I think if you have good processes in your life and good people around you, it makes you happy. And I think sort of that appreciation of the low times, as hard as it is right there and then, you know that the good times will then be even greater because you've experienced a low moment.
Well, you do work a lot on that. Do you still write down what you're grateful for every day?
Yeah.
Good on you.
I go through patches of that. I could be a lot better. Be a lot better. Even with sort of breathing, like I try and do breathing in the morning and at night before I go to bed. But again, I'm very patchy with that. But I feel like I'm at my best when I'm doing those things, and I just feel clear in the mind. I feel happy. I feel ready to go.
Well, you've just given me a kick in the backside because I'm a bit patchy too, and we did that together.
Yeah.
And you're right. I'm at my best when I do that too. So, righto, there you go. There's an answer to that one. Here we go. A couple more. There's thousands on this page of mine, mate. Tips for young aspiring halfbacks, like we did a lot there. Listen to the whole episode, but I remember some great advice you were given as a halfback, but let's see if you can just go bang, bang, bang with a couple of tips for a halfback.
Yeah, I'll try and keep it short, but I think something that Dad always instilled in me was being a good defender. I think as a halfback, you're always thinking about the attacking plays and all that sort of stuff, but if you're a good defender, you're someone that people want to play with and they know that you've got your stuff sorted there, so that gains respect. But I think just fundamentals, kicking, passing. You don't need to be practicing the trick plays and all the fancy stuff straight away. Well, you can if it comes naturally to you, but it never really came naturally to me. So I wanted to get my fundamentals in order, and then that stuff can grow from there.
Yeah, and on communication for a halfback, knowing what to say, so learning enough, knowing what to say. But you've really developed your. If there was a microphone on you during a game,
communication is actually.
Don't let anyone do that unless they're paying you millions because it's priceless. I've seen it; it's priceless. But yeah, communication. Righto, here we go. When you reflect in 20 years' time, which grand final win will be your favourite?
Jeez. Well, I'm hoping there's going to be a few more to come.
There you go. Good answer. Do you think the Panthers would have won the 21 GF if you didn't have the loss in 2020 to light the fire?
Yeah, we kind of touched on that. Yeah, it's interesting. It's a hindsight thing, but I think that build-up of 2019 and 2020, there was we were definitely on the ascendancy and we learned a lot of things. So I think we put that into play, and I think as hard as losing the 2021 was, I think it helped us for the next 2 years.
Definitely. Life after footy. We just said a little bit of the journey now, but it's a good question. Life after footy.
Yeah, well...
Is there coaching in you? No one's written that, but surely...
I actually answered this not long ago. Me and a few of the boys are talking about it.
Really?
Just talking about life after footy, and I'm hoping it's a fair way away for me. But I couldn't... At this stage, I couldn't be a head coach. Like, I just couldn't see myself being a head coach. I've seen Dad. It's just too much stress. It's too much stress. I want to, like... I see myself after footy as trying to live a stress-free life as possible, if that's attainable. But there's also a part of me that I know that I want that sort of like challenge and stuff like that. So maybe some sort of coaching I reckon I'd enjoy, maybe whether it be halves coaching or maybe assistant coach. But yeah, and then I couldn't see myself really getting into the media side of things. I don't know. I think after footy I don't want to be... I want to be a bit low-key.
Low-key? Yeah. Okay.
Things might change, but...
Well, I'm going to do a crystal ball. My prediction of you after footy. Now, I want to congratulate you already. You acknowledged before that footy's not everything. You've got that balance right. So that's good because it's coming your way. When players stop, it's coming your way. There's going to be hard times because you'll miss it straight away. Yeah. But because you've got everything else, you've got it sorted, I think you're going to be okay. My crystal ball, which I congratulate you on front-loading that, mate. People don't get ready for that till it just hits them. Yeah. Till it hits them, including staff members, mate. Like, bang, you've done well. Okay, but my crystal ball is you will coach. Mate,
you reckon?
Mate, you are that competitive. This is what's going to happen. You're going to miss it so much. You're going to come into a team environment as an assistant and you're going to realise you are that person that loves the responsibility of, like you said before, you wanted that ball to kick that field goal. Even though you already missed two before, you wanted the ball. You love responsibility, so does your dad. It's in you and it's going to come out. I'm predicting it now. Actually, can I be your manager? Because by then coaches will be on $2 million a year and I want to cut. That's my prediction.
We'll see.
You're going to coach.
It's not, we'll see.
But I tell you what, you've just helped hundreds, possibly thousands when you hit share on your Instagram. You've just helped thousands of coaches. So whether you coach or not, you've just influenced people that will then influence hundreds of kids who will then influence other. Mate, thank you so much.
No, thank you. You're a good man. It's been a good journey.
Some of the best learning you will ever do will be travelling. Give yourself space, time to creatively think, to learn, to meet people, or take a vacation with your family. Give yourself that time. And there's no better person or people or company to help you than the people at Tripadeal. Their experienced agents will look after you from start to finish. They will plan your flights, your accommodation, your car, your excursions, whatever you need. If you want to plan a trip of a lifetime, Tripadeal is the place to go. tripadeal.com.au